remember? Yes, thank you. Okay. 11 to notes. All right. So we are not doing new content today. We are going to be practicing more of what we've been doing. Are they congruent by SSS? Are they congruent by ASA? Or maybe they're not congruent. We're just going to give a little explanation for it. There are 5 problems. We'll get through at least 4. Your homework is only 3 questions, which tells you they're a little bit longer, but probably could be done in 15 minutes or less. Okay, so let's look at number 1. We are given that E bisects AD. We're given angle A is congruent to D, and we have to show or explain or justify or prove that the triangles are congruent, and they tell me which triangles we're talking about. Okay, so we're going to kind of write it out one step at a time. Let's start with this first thing. E bisects AD. Can somebody tell me what bisects means? Yes. Perfect. Bi means 2, so it's cut into 2 equal parts. We do want to write that down if that's something you don't have memorized. Bisect. So what does that mean in our picture? That means we need to take a look at E, because E is cutting AD. That's being cut into 2 equal parts. Can you guys tell which parts are equal? Okay, so let's mark it. That matches that. Let's write about that. We've just figured out that part AE, or side AE, matches, is congruent to side ED. How did we know that? We knew it because E is bisecting AD. I'm going to put my reason underneath. You can put it under or off to this side. And I'm going to put a circle around it to kind of group it together. So you don't have to do that. E bisects AD. That's how I came up with my statement. The next thing I know, because I've gotten that taken care of, the next thing I know is angle A is congruent to angle D. So let's give those matching symbols. A and D, matching symbols. Usually for angles, we do a nice little matching arc. Now we need to put it in our writing. So simply copy angle A, congruent to angle D. It was just given. They just told us. So we just write given. So we use this piece of information, and we use this piece of information, and unfortunately, now we're out of information. If I cover up a triangle, does it look like I have enough to prove the triangles are congruent? I've got an angle and a side. So how in the world am I going to get them congruent if I've only been given 2 pieces of information? Well, I look at my picture, and there's something in the picture that I'm allowed to mark. What is it? Not B and C. This? Nope, because that's a good thought. They didn't tell me that it was cutting BC in half. Nobody said BC was cut in half. So that's a common thought. I did hear it though. Yeah.
No, vertical.
Yeah. So let's mark our vertical angles with matching symbols. We'll do a double arc. And let's write about that. Angle 1 congruent to angle 2. My reason, vertical angles. If I take that information, do you think now I can prove the triangles are congruent? We should be covering up one triangle. Otherwise, that's a lot to look at. Cover up one triangle. Yeah. Looks congruent. So here's what we do. We're going to take our statements, we're going to put them together to say, with these statements, we now know triangle AEB is congruent to triangle DEC by, go ahead and try to put the correct order, SSS, ASA, HO, whatever you think applies to this problem. The steps to doing that correctly are cover up one triangle, got that done. What do I have two of? I have two angles marked. And is the third thing, so the other thing I have marked is a side. Is that side touching both angles?
Yes.
Yeah, as I draw it, it's hitting both of those red dots. So that side goes in between. It must be that order. It must be ASA. So as you see, no new content, just kind of explaining how we got angle, side, angle for these to be congruent. Yes. Okay. If you like the 2-column proof and that's the way that you stay organized, great. If you like, you're good at writing and you want to write it in a paragraph form, you can say, I know that AE is congruent to ED because he's the bisector. And I'm also told, and just write it out in sentences, that's fine. However you want to organize your thoughts is fine. Are there any questions before we go to 2? Number 2, here's some information we've been given. We're told FT is congruent to FR. Let's start there. Is that sides or angles?
Sides. Angles.
FT. A side. Yep. 2 letters would be a side. Everybody give FT and FR the same matching symbols. Now, before we go on, let's write about it. FT congruent to FR. What's my reason? How did I know those were congruent? Yeah, it was just given to me. They just told me. So it's in my picture. I wrote about it. I'm going to put a check mark. I got that one taken care of. I drew it. I wrote it in my statements. Next, I'm going to give ST and SR matching symbols. You can put a smiley face on both of them if you want. I don't care. They need to have matching symbols, a symbol that's not been used for this problem. Okay, I'm going to put it in my statements. ST congruent to RS given. Check. Do we now know that the triangles are congruent? Doesn't look good to me. It looks like I have 2 sides that I know that match the other triangle. 2 S's is not good enough. So if there's nothing left up here to work with, that must mean there's something in my picture that I'm allowed to mark. What is it? Reflexive. The top triangle has side FS. The bottom triangle has side FS. Would those lengths be the same? Yeah. So we just write FS congruent to FS. Read that was called reflexive. That's how we write reflexive. Looks a little goofy because it says FS congruent to FS. The reason it's that way is because we have to pick a side of the top triangle that's equal to the side of the bottom triangle, and they're labeled the same. Can we say they're congruent now? Okay. Since it took all 3 statements to get me there, I'm going to connect all 3. Luke, I put your poster up and it fell down twice, as did a couple others. So now it just looks terrible over there. I don't know what to do.
Where is it?
Where is it? It's in the back. I kind of want to take them all down, but are we putting SSS? That is correct. See, these aren't that difficult. A little bit of writing, no sentences. Yeah. What'd you say? Oh, you don't have to write it out. No, I was just explaining. That's great if you write that. It's more descriptive, but you don't have to. I'm going to let you do 3 on your own, and I will do it on the board. So try not to look up and steal my work. You can do it. One piece of information at a time. Draw it and write about it. Alrighty, let's check it over. The blue hopefully is pretty easy. I just take what they gave me and I rewrite it and I mark it in my picture. 1 and 4 matching symbols. 2 and 3 matching symbols. Then I'm out of given, so I look at my picture and I notice that there is a side AC overlapping side AC. So I say they're congruent to each other, which is reflexive. Together, these statements come together to prove or show, justify, that the triangles are congruent. I don't know if I've said this yet, but it's important, so listen here. This order is not the order I wrote it in. It is the order in the picture. Let me say it one more time. This order right here, your SSS, ASA, is not the order in which you listed things. It is the order that it's shown in the picture. Did I say that yet today? Okay, probably not. So looking at my picture, what do I have 2 of? I have 2 angles. And that third thing, which is this side here, is it in the middle? Touching both? Yes. So it has to be congruent by ASA. ASA. We're going to do 4 together. There's one little part I want to make sure we got. So let's look at 4. Notice this one kind of looks like one we've had before. Does it say bisect anywhere in the given? So we can't just say, oh, we've heard bisect before, so let's just throw it in here. Just be careful not to do that. It's only bisected if it tells us. It's only a right angle if we know, etc. Let's get started. If EB is congruent to EC, is that a side or angle? Side, because it's 2 letters. Find side EB. Mark it the same as EC. That is not because of bisect, that's because it was just given to me. Whoever phone that is, you can shut it off. Check. It's really nice in the given when they say, hey, here's some sides that are like, here's some angles that are like, and they did that for the first one. But then they gave us this little more tricky statement that says AB is parallel. Try not to confuse that with AB is the same size as CD. They are parallel. Let's go ahead and do what we always do with parallel sides. Let's extend AB, CD. If you have a highlighter, fantastic. Or a red pen, or just darken it in. Just don't get too messy. There's my parallel lines. There's actually two transversals. There's this one and this one. Which one do you pick? Either one. Pick one. See if it leads you to something. If it doesn't, pick the other one. Let's all pick the same one so our answers match. I'm going to pick this transversal here. When you draw parallel lines with a transversal, here's what you're looking for. Angles that are either corresponding, same position, top right, top left, whatever, alternate interior or alternate exterior. Let's see what we have here. How do we know which angles to pick? Do we want to pick this angle out here? That makes no sense. So pick the angles that make sense. The angle that makes sense is this one right here. By angle C, it looks like we want this yellow angle. Are those corresponding? Are they both in the top right position? No. Top right would be over here. This one's in the top right. No, they're not in the same corresponding position. Are they both on the inside of the parallel lines? Yeah. Are they on opposite sides of this yellow line? Yes. So they are alternate interior. So when we write about these being congruent, angle B congruent to angle C, the reason is alternate interior angles. That was the reason we were doing this one together, because the first given, pretty easy. They tell you the side, you mark it down. Second given, the parallel is a little bit harder. We are out of givens, so that means we must either be ready to go. Are we ready to go? They're congruent? No. So we got to look at our picture. What do you guys see in the picture we can write about? Good. Vertical. Draw it and then write about it. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I write this down. Get that vertical written? Okay. I think we're ready to put these three statements together. Make sure you get it in the right order according to the picture. Go ahead.